Wanted to discuss Bitcoin as well as the market SPY and where we're going. We're in September. September's a bear month. The people that are perma bulls that only play calls are getting smoked right now, as well as breakout call traders. Before I get into this, come to ZTRADEZ.net. Check out the terms and conditions page up here. If you do not agree, don't join the Discord, which is free right here. Okay, if you do, feel free to watch the rest of my videos as well as this and join the Discord. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's pull up Bitcoin here and see what we got going. Let me go ahead and move this over. A lot of people don't understand the 4-year cycle, and they've never been in this before, and they also bought the top. They think that it's gonna like come down and retrace at like 20. It's ridiculous. So that looks really hot to me. We have a flag. Everyone's failing to realize that. We're still staying in the channel. We can go lower, absolutely, and I'll show you the targets that I'm looking at here. And we have this giant volume gap, which we're in right now, which we can continue to fall into. I don't see us really going past 46. That would mean that we broke the channel. I expect us to keep bouncing in this range for a little bit longer. So let's take a look at Bitcoin on the monthly here, and we're going to go over to SPY and what we have going on. If I didn't have the volume profile up, this cup and handle would look a lot cleaner here. But we have a cup and handle on a higher time frame, and we have a bull on a monthly, and on a weekly we have a bull flag, right? I don't know why no one anywhere sees this stuff. Just like the cup and handle, I had been calling out on gold for 2 years, and then there's also a 50-year cup and handle that we have building on silver if you use a yearly or quarterly chart, each candle being a year or a quarter. I know that's a bit out there. It's still something to consider, especially since silver has been disconnected from gold in the sense that the old metric used to be 12 ounces of silver to equal an ounce of gold. We don't think that gold's overvalued. We think silver is undervalued, and silver is also used. This will be a separate video that I specifically do on silver. Silver is used for solar, EV, although EV is failing. We're going to go to hydrogen. EV failed, it didn't work. That'll be a separate video as well. Anyone who wants to debate me on that, put your gloves on, let's go. So yeah, then we're going to jump into bonds. The big one. That is the big one I'm looking at, and that'll be a separate video, but we're going to slightly go over it. We have a bull flag, cup and handle on the monthly, bull flag on the weekly. We're still in the channel. So, I try to tell people, those of you that cannot handle it, if you're in, you probably don't want to be in it. You may not want to be in it because you're just going to cry about it the whole time. You can't stomach it. I could hold this for 5 years and not care. So, and just build a position for when the dollar gets worse. Here's a Bitcoin on the daily. We're still within the channel. My price target was right around here on this fib to 53, which we've cracked that here. We have this fib around 52. Now, I do expect us to bounce up in the channel. I don't see us going past this 50% right here, the 47. I don't see that. I really do not see that happening, but we just fill that little volume gap that we had right there. Again, it's September. Everything goes down. Everyone's asking me questions like, why is this down? Why is that down? Well, everything's going to go down for the most part, depending on what it is, outside of bonds and metals. It's September. Again, it's September. Everything dives every single September. From last September held up pretty well. Remember, like it was yesterday. We were bullish for all of September leading up until quad witching. Quad witching just set, or also known as triple witching, cause everything to dump. Bitcoin is going to remain bearish for September. I do think that it's going to bounce around, and we're going to have a rally maybe for a day or two after interest rate cuts. Maybe not. Maybe it'll keep going. But I expect quad witching to take effect. I expect it to be a regular September. I'm put my money where my mouth is on the bear side. I'm in debit spreads for October 18th on QQQ. Debit put spreads, those are up really, really nice. They're almost up 100%. just a few days here. I expect the week of quad witching, which isn't this upcoming week, but the following week, that would be the 14th, 15th. Yeah, that's when it'd be starting. Yeah, so the week of 9/20, monthly expirations. Everyone should know that month, 9/20, because we've been staring at that because that was the only September date that you could trade options on if you wanted to be not a degenerate and go far out on your swings instead of swinging at tomorrows constantly like the new people do, and they cry about it and claim the market's rigged, but really they don't understand it. Let's take a look at SPY. So again, to recap, I'm still bearish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish for a few days leading into FOMC and on FOMC. September's a coin toss. I expect it to be bear, and I expect Bitcoin to do absolutely nothing, like I've been saying the entire year. For September, I expect it to chop in October. November, I expect it to be bullish. December, I expect it to go parabolic. Late December, right? Mark my words, late December, I expect it to go parabolic. Elections will matter this time. They will absolutely matter. Under one person, I'm not going to say who, rates can go a lot lower because we can take care of inflation the right way by cutting government spending and on the back end, right? Keystone Pipeline, get energy lower, the refining going. The other one, there's going to be more government spending, which means rates can't go as low because everything that they're going to do is inflationary, and the fires that the inflation causes from the government, they will print money and fire it to put those fires out, which is inflationary. It doesn't work, right? So I expect a couple rate cuts, maybe 2 in 2025, and then inflation to roar, and then they have to stop. So that can halt Bitcoin. Let's take a look at SPY. All right. We had a gap fill. Let's go ahead and take a look at that gap fill. Did we have another one there? We literally have another one right here that I didn't see. I didn't see that till literally right now. I wasn't looking back far enough. I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon, but we're going to mark that down right now. Let's take a look at that. Okay. 505 is the gap fill, around that area. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. We still got that volume gap to 537. We had this gap. I was going to write about this. So before I get off this right here, guys, note that 537.60 doesn't have to, I'm not going to mention the cents. All right, just watch for 537, mid 537s, okay? We have that volume gap there. I was going to make a YouTube video, right? Also talking about this gap. We were right here in it. And it was too late. I went to lunch and it filled it immediately. So we still have this gap right here in the 535s. So it'd be interesting to see if we can fill that this next week. And I expect the following week to possibly turn bull. I'm leaning 65 to 70% on the bullish side, right? So not really sure. It's kind of a coin toss. We're very red right now. We're very bearish. It is September. I'm going to say that again and again. And we also have a pivot right there at 532. Let's take a look at that. As well as the ADX. If you look at the ADX here, we're starting to open up quite a bit. So, yeah, and we have this giant volume gap right here. And there's a pivot almost perfectly where that would, where that could possibly end, right? So, gap fill to 506, which I don't think is going to happen this much. Although, if we go back to last September, which is here, where it's September, okay? We were around 451, and by the end of September, by the end of September, we had a low of 419, so we had about a $30 move, right? The end of October is usually always bearish. The last week, I don't know about the whole month. Usually it's choppy, but we fell quite a bit. So in October we were at 431 and we dropped to 408. Overall, from September to October, we went from 450 to 409. So a $40 move in 2 months on the S&P. You know, if we did that this time, if we had a decent fall, I mean, we could fill that gap, and that's kind of right where this 200 is as well. I'm pretty sure that's the, you know what? Let me check real quick. Let's just check. Is that the 200? That is the 50. I have a different swing set of indicators up right here. That's the 50. So the 200 on a weekly, obviously that's not going to be that tight. What was I thinking, right? Anyways, so that's what we got going on with SPY. Bonds, this is going to be a separate video, guys. This will be a separate video. I expect bonds to go, look at that on the weekly. We're crossing everything right here. ADX is green. This thing is set. Look at this right here. This is where I freaking bought it in 2023. Seems like it was yesterday. I was with Rob, the new guy in the group. We were over. I was either taught. Was I with him? I was taught. I don't know. I may have been with him. He was out here. I think I was. And we were in St. Pete, and we were talking about. I was bringing up the fact that this thing is hitting freaking 02 lows, 2002 lows. Right? They cut interest rates. Yield goes down. Face value goes up. They raise interest rates. Face value goes down. Yield goes up. Right? So the yield matches interest rates. Not point for point, but they raise interest rates. The yield goes up. They lower interest rates. The yield goes down on this. Right? And the face value does the opposite. So I expect TLT to at least fill this gap over here to 111. I easily see that happening. I think it's going to depend on who gets in office in the long run for how low interest rates can go. So, yeah, because if inflation is being taken care of through the ways that I would like it to be taken care of, one of them would be kicking Wall Street out of the housing market. Okay, well, prices could fall, but you could also cut interest rates more, right? Because prices fell. But yeah, that'll be a whole nother video on how I would handle inflation and what we have going on here. So look at that head and shoulders right before we went into QT, quantitative tightening. And now on the weekly over here, this just looks fantastic. This is a monthly chart. Let's take a look at ZROZ. Treasury strips, TLT 20-year, ZROZ 25-year plus Treasury strips. Very interest rate sensitive. Very interest rate sensitive. Short-term stuff, not so much. This, absolutely. We can take a look at it here. What did I just do? What the heck is that? Anyways, we're rejecting off that right there. Looks like we have a little 1, 2, 3. Would love to see this come down in October. I don't see how that can happen if they're going to cut interest rates. This should start going nuts. Would love to see it fill that little volume gap right in this range to 103 from 86. Would be awesome to see it hit this pivot. I don't know if that's going to happen, but 86 to 115 with pretty much, in my opinion, doesn't mean it's true. No downside risk. I mean, it's not a company. It doesn't have earnings. It doesn't have bad management. They can't dilute the shares. They can't issue warrants. None of that. I think I already said they can't have a bad earnings report, right? So if it literally just runs off what the Fed, just focus on the ADX over here, all right? Over here, we went into quantitative tightening. Trump came in, told Powell, stop, go into QE. Well, lower the interest rates back to where they were. They actually lowered them lower. It went green. We went into QT, quantitative tightening. It went red. What are we about to do again? QE. So it's going to look like this. Is it going to look like this as hard? No, because that was COVID. So the monetary system wasn't as fried as it is now. I'm going to do a separate video on this. We're going to discuss everything and my plan with bonds here going into quantitative easing. So we'll go into that. If you guys like these videos, make sure to like and comment. And make sure to check out our Discord if you're not in it. Completely free to join, no strings attached.